Thinking about starting your own podcast? Think it's a good idea that you try Anchor. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. And Anchor gives you everything you need in one place. And the best part is that it's free. And the other best part is you can use it right from your phone or your computer. And I've been using it from my phone this entire time. Creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast so it really sounds great. They'll distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere. And when I mean everywhere, I mean Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can easily make money from your podcast, and there's no minimum listenership. So, download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Lying, cheating, and telling secrets. Sometimes we tend to call people who lie all the time pathological liars. Someone who lies even when they really don't need to be lying. Some even believe that those with personality disorders or have so-called manic episodes are the ones that tend to lie more often or seem to be those so-called pathological liars. One of the number one reasons that people do lie is because they think that it's going to matter that they tell the truth. Maybe the issue is enormous to them in their eyes, but to other people it could be very minor and no reason, in that moment to be lying about it. And not at all to others they're surrounding themselves with are going to, like I said, think that that situation is even enormous in the least bit, and it can be a minor issue. There may be times when the person is trying to be in control, so to speak. So the peers that they're surrounding themselves with, like I said again, will give them the reactions, or even respond the way that they want them to respond, or desire them to respond. Maybe telling the truth in someone's eyes can be hurtful, and they don't want to be hurtful in that way. They want to be respectful. They don't want to tell a lie that to them may think be hurtful to you or someone else. People genuinely have lied over and over that they feel, they have to continue to lie, or for that other person again, for them to respect them. The truth may be, honest to God, long gone. I mean, this could be months, years, days, hours, long gone, and the lying has continued to work for them. And I'll get into, these in a little bit more detail here, and excuse a little bit of background noise. Once people start lying and the lie seems to lead farther and farther from the truth, or what some would call it is the snowball effect. So this means we're telling a little lie, but in order to cover the first lie that we in order to cover that first lie, we tell another lie, and then it tends to become a much bigger lie than we intended. So then we kind of get that snowball effect. We start with something little, and then like, oh crap, now I lied already. Now I have to lie again because I can't tell you what I was just, what I just lied about. And now that lie is lying on top of that lie, and then it just keeps going. For those that tend to be, compulsive liars, once one lie has been admitted, these compulsive liars, they automatically feel, they themselves are being called a liar all the time. So, like, no matter if you were to say, you called them out and they're like, oh my God, now you automatically think that I'm a liar all the time. And, even though that could be deemed as true, it's more effective for that person who is a compulsive liar, because they might be telling the truth at times, but at the same time, it's hard when they lie about little minor things. And, they become defensive and they don't like the truth, or maybe the truth is just not appealing to them and not comfortable to talk about. Being under pressure or put under pressure, sometimes when asked to look at the bigger picture, it's sometimes difficult, for them to recall that particular situation, or maybe like their memory is kind of jogged a little bit, fogged, blurred, whatever you want to call it. The bigger picture, For one, like our memory is, it's not always like the best as being reliable because sometimes we can form and we can change our memories and, they can be influenced and like I said, they can change over time. So when under pressure, what comes out in the moment, that is that could be the truth, or it might not be the truth. Maybe they have, they've been influenced by stress and in environmental factors, and they kind of conform to moment beliefs. So like in that moment, even though their memory might possibly be telling them something different, or if you're having a conversation and they just want to be, they're in that moment right there. So they're like, okay, like this is the truth. And that's what they feel in that moment is the truth. They're not necessarily lying to you at all, if they are telling you the truth. People want their lies to be true, and telling the truth is overwhelming. And like I said, it always depends on the situation. And I could come up with a trillion different scenarios as far as what they don't want their it to be true. Like maybe for example, and this is a pretty big lie. Like maybe you are, with your significant other and you've been together for a long time and then you find out that something is really medically wrong with you, and you go to doctor's appointments and then you start lying about why you're going to the doctor's appointments because you really don't, like, you're not genuinely trying to hurt that person. You just don't want them to be, to be hurt. And I feel like that's a lot to do with that. Telling the truth is overwhelming, and maybe, that saying it over and over can, it's creating it to be true for them even more so because now they've had to tell that person. Most people are genuinely honest and open people and mean the things that they do say. It's just that some people may actually lie more than others, with the majority of things that are being lied about being more, unimportant and really easily disproven. Some helpful questions you can ask this person, when you are in those situations is, why is this so important to you? Like, why is this situation so important to you? And how can you and I look at this, through the same window here, same perspective? Having empathy, but also teaching people the importance of being honest with each other. It's not worth lying when it could really hurt another person in the end, kind of like what I mentioned before. And, a couple more things about why people lie and then what the importance of teaching people, to be honest, and then we'll move on to cheating. So other people, they lie because they're avoiding punishment. This is a number one reason why people tell serious lies, like big serious lies. Speeding, 15 miles and over and pulling um some crazy excuse so you don't have to get a ticket, because then you get points on your license, you get a ticket, and then if you're still living with your parents, you gotta tell your parents you were speeding, and then there's double the punishment at that point. You get to home late or home too late from curfew, so you had to lie to your parents so you don't get grounded, or maybe, you're like that rebel type and you have parents who are kind of strict, and you just feel like anything that you do is not something they're going to approve of, so you just constantly are lying to them so that you can get away with doing things you really think are fun to do. Goofy things to do. These kinds of lies are seen, these serious lies, these deep lies that people tell, that when we are, you know, trying to avoid punishment in most cases, these are things that we can tell people are lying by their body language, the tone of their voice, um, you know, and just like why we rely on easy things that will not, be punished or easier. So like if we're, lying is so much easier, like we're saying, to try for a person to try to lie because they're really trying to avoid that punishment. They're more motivated to do it. And another reason, and like this coincides with kids having to come home, the curfew, and they are like, oh, hey, well, I want to stay at this party longer, so I'm going to come up with some excuse. And, these excuses like, oh, my phone died on my way there, or I got stuck by a train. I know some of us could use that excuse. Sometimes for a man, then this ties into my cheating part too. For a man cheating on his wife, using a good excuse that he left his ringer off, when he was working late in the office because he didn't want to be disrupted. And, maybe he said it really smoothly and, whatever, that's personality, that's whatever he, however he thinks to lie to her. And, when really he's off using um drugs, or maybe he's off, like I said, doing the drugs and maybe being with other women, things like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be cheating. Um, and once he continues to lie like that, then it works. Then he's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna keep using simple excuses like that because it worked for you. And like I said, staying out later, partying with your friends so that so you can stay out later and have more fun. And another reason that people tell some real serious lies is protection. So even though maybe the person that you are protecting did do something wrong and you have to be questioned for that person, then you might you know, lie to that person that is questioning you and just protect that person. Like, I'm not gonna, I'd rather lie than see something happen to that person. And then self-protection, something that you could possibly have your child for you, lie for you. For example, one that I was given, one of the resources that I have was, a child that was left home alone, and the dad said, "Oh, well, once if somebody ever comes to the door, like either you don't answer it, or if you do answer the door," which I'm sure nobody really says that anymore. Or maybe if somebody calls or something like that, to ask where dad is, and they'll be like, oh, hey, or mom, whatever, is in their bedroom taking a nap when really like they're off doing something else. And that is, that could be a serious lie in a couple different reasons, but that's, their self-protection. Like that's why they're lying, because, oh, hey, but then you're teaching your kid, and children like to boast and lie about things that make them feel important, and more so if the parents are doing, the child will be doing it too, whether it, being silly or not. And some people, have the thrill of lying, avoid being embarrassed by the truth, so they lie instead. Um, they like to see if one lie works and then they can keep getting away with it. And one thing I thought was kind of goofy in a sense, because I know this happens to all parents that have children, a kid pees in the bed and then, oh, I spilled water in my bed, you know. So it's kind of funny. And so, really quick, so a couple tips, for teaching each other to be honest. It starts with teaching the young ones on why it's important to you in the first place, like as a person, as an adult, as a parent, and why it's important for others to be honest. And you want to teach this as early as you can. Remind them that it may be difficult to tell the truth at times. It might even be embarrassing. And not only lying, you know, and it can cause problems, but once someone lies to you, you are continuously questioning them on what they're doing all the time. And this goes for, all relationships. And it is building that the trust and, I guess like that loyalty and respect in a sense too. That's difficult, and it's a difficult process, and it's a difficult commitment, for the both of you to get over. And you have to model the honesty, whether it be with your children or it be with someone that you really honestly care about, and you need that relationship to be honest and open and not telling any lies. So cheating. is the next topic. Why do people cheat? What is, their motivations? Is it deliberate? What is the environmental factors? We talk a little bit about in the relationships and things like that. Relationships, there's studies that say that 90% of people feel it's wrong to cheat on their significant other, although 90% of people, again, like I said, say that they say it's wrong. They believe that it's wrong to cheat on their significant other. But yet, 30 to 40% of people still do it. Now, that's almost half. I mean, that's not almost, that's half of the people. Because if you're at 90%, that's half of the people that that do it. So half the people say that they think it's wrong, but half the people do it. As an individual, people will sometimes say once they cheat, they're always a cheater. Some say that some of the qualities that make up a person, could cause the person to do so or incline the person to want to cheat more so often than the next person. And some, men carry more testosterone than women, so they say men are more prone to be cheating on women more so than women cheat on men, but that could be debatable. And, and because if you think about it, and that brings me to the next part is, if your significant other and you are away from each other a lot, but like you are put yourself, man or woman, in a situation where you're constantly around other women all the time, putting yourself in vulnerable situations. And I think it's important that you try to, if you feel it's wrong and you really love that person, then you just you keep yourself out of those situations. But that's, they say that some men, some women, depending on the situation, can cause that person to cheat. And, they even kind of going along with the percentage of people that say it's wrong, and this can go for them as well. People have religious beliefs that they think that it's wrong for a man and a woman to even have the urge to want to have a sexual relation with that person. So, they feel wrong for even like having that feeling, but at the same time, that sometimes that always doesn't hold that person back, even though they know back of their mind they feel it's wrong. And people, maybe the guy or the girl is unsatisfied with the majority of the actions that happen on a day-to-day basis, that they take place within the relationship when they do interact with each other. They have a high conflict, they have mismatched personalities. Maybe their sex life is boring. Maybe it's not boring to one, but it's been boring to the other. And it can be, it can be situational, like constantly being put in, and I said, like again, being put in vulnerable situations, or maybe you guys don't make time for yourselves to give yourselves that time just being alone. Yes, it's important, and maybe you guys have been together, but I think in it, and I don't think, I know a lot of people, forget to spend that time with each other. And then when you talk about it and you kind of put it back out there, like if you think, like, yeah, just because you have these kids together, like, yeah, you love each other, but your kids aren't you. And, you aren't your kids. And, like, you guys are all individuals. So it's important that you're still spending that love and keeping that bond close with you two, because then you get again more vulnerable. And then if that person again is put in a situation where they're gonna be with other women or other men, and then it's gonna be tempting. And we're all humans, and we act on our behavior sometimes and our instincts and our physical attractions, and happens. And motivations, like we have lack of love with that person, or maybe there's neglect in the relationship, there's abuse, there's that can be a whole different story. Maybe maybe there's not enough variety, that person needs more fun in the relationship, so that kind of leads to like the sex life. Or maybe they don't have any social relationship. There's low commitment with that person, and that person, has already cheated, so they feel like, oh, well, I'm just going to cheat too, and then it goes back and forth. Your self-esteem, the other person's self-esteem, your self-esteem. You guys both have to have a good level, a good self-esteem for each other, and, or being angry or suspect, like I kind of mentioned before. And I think it's important, to keep that stuff in mind, but at the same time, don't focus on those things. Just remember that you don't ever want to, continue to put yourself in some situations that could get you caught up in cheating. And another thing that I wanted to kind of talk about in cheating, and I don't know how more relevant it is now, but it seems like because of technology, it seems that more students are cheating on their tests, and kids and teenagers, they cheat in relationships just like adults do, and but it's just more relevant to cheat in high school. They found ways to cheat in high school. This means no work for them and more time to have fun in school, more time to be with your peers and enjoy time in school. Some students get so overloaded with stress that they feel like they need to cheat or plagiarize, even being a straight A student. This can be unhealthy in a sense. If you are a straight A student and you have a lot of pressure to, I'll talk a little bit more about that later. You have a lot of pressure to keep your grades up, and cheating maybe is the only option you feel in that moment. Every child knows that cheating is wrong. This is something that, we typically teach children that it's wrong. It's in every handbook. As soon as they start to read, we teach them not to do it. It's something that's always available to them every year. Most of the children that decide to she are deeming it as legit. It's a rule. It's one rule that they try to get around when they think things are tough. They try to find the easy way out because they're kids and they want to have fun, and they don't want to have to do it the hard way. And they find it's one, like I said, it's one rule for them to get around when things might seem tough, or when they get assignments themselves that they don't feel like it's really adding any value to them at the time, or it's really doing any good for them, because as a teenager, you're like, oh, what am I gonna do with algebra? Like, I don't really care, I'm gonna cheat. And some kids could even, be blaming it on the teacher, which it could be valid for that. Maybe they study and they study and they study for these tests, and then, or, they study for these tests and they go to take the test and it's nothing what they studied on. And I know this has happened because it's happened to me before, and I know it's happened to others. That's just, if they're inclined to do that because the teacher genuinely doesn't put what they say they're going to put on the test. And or maybe they just don't learn the way that the teacher is teaching them. That could also be it as well. Children with high expectations from their parents, kids who are not just praised for their effort and progress, but more so like, oh, you're so smart, like you get straight A's, like, pinpointing like all those, like, oh, good job on your A, rather than saying, oh, you're doing great. Look at this progress that you're making. Little tiny progress is always important to be praising, and their effort, because then they feel more inclined to cheat at that point, so to speak, because they have that obligation in their eyes to, these high expectations to keep those grades up. And another thing with like teenagers just enjoy being more reckless. They don't know the consequences. Ideally, their brains aren't fully developed at that point, and that's been proven, and especially our frontal lobe area. And, they will test a lot of different things on what they can get away with, and, to get what they want. They're motivated to really have fun and get what they want. Their social status mean everything to them at this point in their lives. And if that's what everyone else is doing, then they feel inclined to do the same thing as well. Kids and teens are testing the waters, seeing what they can get away with. Again, it comes with having not a lot of fear. There's some, but not knowing, what their parents are going to do because there's always new experiences in high school. And teachers have said that it started with social media and, for example, like reposting, sharing, and claiming it as their own. And this could actually be, suspected as plagiarism and without them even really realizing it. And technology is becoming more popular and enabling the students to cheat. School is meant for some, not for others. You know what I mean? Like, an education is important. Like, everybody needs to be educated, and there's certain things that people are just better at learning, and people are, learn different ways. So sometimes homeschool is better, and it's harder for kids to cheat being homeschooled, and challenging themselves or being challenged by others, in which this inclines them to cheat. And it requires, this can require like unique, maybe there's a project that requires unique abilities and talents, and they feel like they're being really challenged at that point, and they like it, but they're like, oh crap, like I need help, but I don't really want to ask for help, so I'm gonna send somebody else kind of do it for me, kind of thing. Somebody I know what they're doing, and another thing is, to just remind these kids that, to be honest and always follow. This is something to, I found that motivating teenagers and motivating them to continue to always be honest and always follow goals and ambitions. It's not like, oh, hey, you need to get all these good grades and you do this. Like, no, if you continue to be happy and you follow your dreams while you're in school and you're ambitious, and whether you're being homeschooled or not, you're gonna get they're going to get good things in their life, and you guys are both, everybody's going to have healthy and happy relationships at that point, because we're working together to, make sure everything is understood at an individual level, and that we all have to do things differently and understand things differently. And okay, so the last little thing I kind of wanted to throw in here, because I think, we all kind of tend to tell secrets at some point in our life. And people take secrets, and I think this goes along with, people lying, and this goes along with people cheating and things like that, like keeping, we're keeping secrets from each other. And people take secrets in most cases. They don't take a lot of pride. They don't take a lot of pride in what their secret is. So for example, like I was just saying, this kind of, these all like coincide with each other. Like if you are cheating, or in this, whether it be in a test, or it be with a significant other, or it be, like anything related to your work or something like that, or cheating with the plagiarism on like the social media, like I was saying, stuff like that. The lies and everything, that nobody's going to really take pride in that at that point. So like if they do want to tell somebody, it's considered a secret, and I'm only going to tell certain people. That's kind of what makes it a secret. Like I'm only going to tell these certain people. So this is going to be a secret. And they may have picked, like I said, maybe one or two people that they honest to God confide in. And it could be a coworker, it could be a friend, it could be mom, dad, even, I mean, maybe people confide in their kids, I don't know. The secret is that some cases, people, it's going to be hard for them to even keep a secret. So it's like, why even tell anybody, unless you're going to be honest, or take care of that secret, because you might go and tell somebody a secret. And like, for example, in my case, if somebody's going to tell me a secret, I'm like basically 100% like gonna tell my boyfriend, because I tell him everything. So, it's not really gonna be a secret for us, but like, I can tell him like, hey, this is a secret, and he never would ever say anything. But um and that's just like, and maybe like they're like, no, you absolutely can't, because it's going to affect this person or that, but then you're leaving that person like with that burden of like, oh my gosh, like now I'm basically lying to people, and like I can't tell the truth, and I have to cheat people of the truth. And, so why is it that people feel the need to share this with others? And it has to do with relationship building, keep in that relationship with someone, maybe you maybe that's how you build relationship with people. You're like, hey, I have this secret, and then if like you can trust them with it, and you genuinely know you like that person, then that's how you know, do it. Or maybe and like I said, was mentioning about like getting closer with a significant other or things like that. Secrets somehow bring people closer together, and then secrets also bring people apart, just like lies and cheating do as well.